Well, joining us tonight is Ambassador Joe Keshi, who is a Catholic and a former permanent secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Congratulations are in order.
Yeah,
I wonder what your
absolutely.
reaction was when you heard this, but a lot of things have moved since the last 24 hours since the new Pope emerged. Now, Pope Leo XIV has officially begun his papacy with the Mass today with the cardinals. But nearly a decade ago, he visited Nigeria. I wonder if you knew about that visit before now. And not as a pope, not even as a bishop, but as a missionary Augustinian leader. Tell us, does that visit carry any ecclesiastical weight or any diplomatical weight?
You know, not really. I want to say that he is the second cardinal to visit Nigeria who became a pope. Incidentally, the first was Cardinal Montini, who became Pope Pius the what I'm trying to remember now. And I served that Pope in St. William's, Ibadan, for 1 week when he was when Cardinal Montini was visiting Nigeria. So this is the second cardinal that has visited Nigeria and has a relationship with Nigeria that has become Pope. You know, at that time, nobody expected, nobody knew that this would happen. But it has happened, like the people of Peru. We also can lay some bit of claim, you know, to him because of the many times he has visited Nigeria and because apparently he has also helped the Augustinian, you know, sect of the church in this part of the world. So. No, many people didn't know because nobody expected that he would become Pope. But now that he has become Pope, I think everybody is anxious to get to know him more, and then hopefully he would put Nigeria among the countries he will visit as the years goes by.
Absolutely, especially when you consider the sheer huge strength of, you know, the Catholics in Nigeria, about 35 million Catholics in Nigeria, only second to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. What really should we be expecting from, you know, Pope Leo, but not just Nigeria, but for Africa as a whole?
No, I think we should talk of the world because the Catholic Church is a universal church to start with.
Absolutely.
The Pope is also a head of state. Let's remember, you know, this very clearly that he's a head of state. And he has indicated the fact that, I mean, his first statement, peace be unto you. It's similar to what Christ said to his apostles, you know, when he met them, you know, when he appeared to them after his resurrection and so on. And it gives you a clear-cut idea of the kind of man that he wants to be. And the fact that he chose that name, you know, Leo also, indicated that he wants to be like the last pope that bore that same name, who spoke out massively, intensively for the working class, for the poor people. And this was also what Pope Francis did. So our expectation is that he's going to consider in the tradition of Pope Francis, as well as, you know, Leo XIII. And they will continue to speak on peace, and they will continue to speak for the downtrodden and for people, you know, who are differentiated from the society.
What about the voice of Africa at the Vatican? Because there's the notion, apart from Nigeria's numeric strength, which has been highlighted by Ngozi a moment ago, there is the notion that when it comes to the Vatican, African voices are not as heard as other continents that make up the Catholic Church globally. Do you think his missionary experience, because he's one pope who has traveled all the continents of the world, do you think that will play any role? Are we likely to see more Africa at the table?
You know, I was reflecting this late last night because my daughter and the son, they were having a debate. The mother was hoping for an African pope.
Like many people were,
and my grandson was just like, why are you so excited about having an African pope? What does it mean? What does it matter? And things like that. And when this pope was elected and, you know, you look at his background and his trajectory, you begin to wonder whether it's not time that African, bishops and future cardinals begin to have a world view. Because look, this Pope is probably one of the most extensive traveled as a cardinal. And when you look at all the positions he has held in the Vatican, it's amazing. But what clearly it demonstrates is that Pope Francis apparently was preparing him to succeed him. If you also watch this great movie, The Two Popes.
The Two Popes, yeah.
You'd also see that
Pope Benedict
the
XVI
was interested in having I don't know, well, maybe this guy is going to be a saint, right?
Yeah.
That Benedict was interested in having, Francis succeed him. It was very clear because he wanted to leave the Vatican to go back to Argentina, but the Pope was like, no, and it's kept delaying him until the gentleman died, and then the next thing we knew that he became the Pope and couldn't go back to Argentina. So I think there's something that African clergymen in the Catholic Church should begin to think seriously about. That is there something that is stopping them from rising to that very high level in the Vatican hierarchy? Look, we have some people there, by the way. We have a number of priests that are bishops, and today they are Papa Nuncio all over the world. But I think something is still missing. I can't lay my hand properly on it, but I just think that, look, when you consider the last 2 or 3 popes, we need to begin to ensure that our future cardinals or bishops have a clearly defined worldview, and that their mission is clearly defined when they are in Nigeria. Because look, this Pope worked in Peru, but everybody seems to know the work he did in Peru. So those of the Catholic bishops who are doing something similar in Nigeria, I think they should also begin to push their own agenda and themselves forward so that people can recognize what they are doing.
Is that not likely to even work against anybody who wants, the moment you show interest, that in itself,
you are not showing interest because, you are not going to do this because you want to be a pope. You have no clear-cut idea whether you'll be a pope or not. If the Holy Spirit decides that you're going to be a pope and you are selected, so be it. But what I'm trying to say is that, to your question, that yes, there are a couple of Africans in the Vatican, but I think they need to do something more to rise up to that level where their colleagues will begin to consider them as future, as candidates for the papacy.
But it's interesting because we've had 3 popes or so in the past. I'm just looking at this. Pope Victor I, the first, who headed the church from 189 to 199.
From where?
Before the
no, hold on. Pope Miltiades, 311 to 314, and Pope Gelasius I, who was Pope from 492.
No, from where? You should have known where they are from.
No, unfortunately, that information is not listed. But the Africans, which means,
long ago,
is that to say that we have even progressed backwards? If, Africa was there before, and now unfortunately. But let's talk about the political side of it. I mean, what does it mean for the world when you have an American Pope in the time of President Donald Trump, who is very excited that an American has emerged Pope? Is that what you even want to, look at?
The general reaction in America is that, thank God we have an American Pope. Maybe with an American Pope, he'll be able to speak some truth to Donald Trump. So the Americans are hoping that the Pope itself might be able to moderate Trump, which I don't think that will happen. But look, here's my take. The Pope, it's a voice of moral authority. The popes that we've had in the last couple of years has actually shown that they have developed that capacity to engage the world and to preach peace all over the world and to speak truth to power, okay? So I just think that the current Pope is going to continue that way politically. And look, when you realize the fact that at the funeral of Pope Francis, over 85 or 86, heads of states and government, you know, attended the funeral. It just shows you the respect and the importance that the world and the leaders of the world attaches to the papacy itself. And yes, they might not listen to him all the time, but he remains a very strong voice of reason, a very moral authority in a world that is becoming, difficult. I mean, devoid of values and the rest of it.
In fact, the Pope, the Pope in his homily, his first homily today, actually addressed the point. He made a point as to the way faith is waning globally.
Precisely.
Yes, and
so he's going to continue. The Pope is going to continue with that moral strength, that moral authority, and continue to remind the world of what humanity is all about. Yeah. And you can see this was what Pope Francis did, extensively, very well all over the world. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind that the new Pope is going to continue in that line too.
Are there any challenges you foresee him? I mean, as diverse as the world is, so is the Catholic Church. And there's so many challenges. What do you think will be his biggest challenge?
The Catholic Church is over 2,000 years old and has faced so many challenges over the years, over the centuries, and has survived. No, I don't think that. Look, there is the usual challenges. For example, people have raised the issue that he would have to address the issue of women becoming priests, or women becoming bishops, more women in the house of God. He would have to deal with the issues of
LGBTQ,
yes, and the rest of it, and of course the issue of faith itself. But I just think that he's going to follow, to a large extent, the line of Pope Francis. And try and be a centralist, that takes the middle of the road in such a way that there will be no crisis within the church itself.
Okay. Ambassador Joe Keshi, former Nigerian ambassador to the Netherlands and Belgium, thank you very much for joining us. And, of course, a staunch Catholic.
Thank you.